There are teachings that were never meant for crowds. Not because they are forbidden, but because they demand discipline. For centuries, a quiet tradition has whispered a dangerous idea. Human beings are unfinished. Not incomplete, but unrefined. And refinement requires fire. What if the true alchemy was never about metal, but about you? There are paths in history that do not shout. They do not advertise themselves. They do not seek mass approval. They move quietly through centuries, shaping individuals rather than crowds. Among these silent traditions, one stands out for its discipline of consciousness. Not because it promises miracles, but because it demands transformation. The Rosicrucian path was never about spectacle. It was about refinement. Refinement of perception. Refinement of intention. Refinement of being. At its core lies a simple but unsettling idea. Human beings are not meant to drift through existence unconsciously. They are meant to participate in the elevation of consciousness itself. And that begins in a place most people guard carefully. The heart. Not the emotional heart that reacts impulsively, but the inner center that becomes vulnerable without collapsing. In certain initiatory descriptions, the opening of the heart is described as a moment of unguarded clarity. A state where one is no longer defending identity, but observing it. In that vulnerability, something subtle awakens. Not a dramatic vision. Not an explosion of light. But a quiet ignition. A spark of awareness that begins to move upward through the inner landscape of perception. Some traditions describe this ascent symbolically as a rose of light rising toward the center of vision. Not as fantasy, but as metaphor. The heart refines intention. The mind refines perception. And when both align, clarity emerges. This alignment is not automatic. It requires discipline. Ancient systems across cultures speak of centers of will and action. The capacity to translate invisible intention into visible reality. In some Eastern philosophies, this power resides in the lower center of the body, the place of grounded will. In Western esoteric thought, the same principle appears differently. The will must be trained before it can be trusted. To act without inner alignment is to scatter energy. To cultivate will without clarity is to amplify confusion. The Rosicrucian discipline suggests something radical. Transformation does not begin with changing the world. It begins with transmuting the substance of the self. This is why alchemy became such a powerful symbol. Not because metals were literally transformed into gold, but because the human being can refine their own density. Fear into steadiness. Impulsivity into discernment. Reaction into awareness. Inner alchemy is not mystical in the dramatic sense. It is psychological, spiritual, intentional. It is the art of observing one's inner movements, without becoming enslaved by them. Which brings us to the first foundation of the path. Self-observation. Not self-criticism. Not self-analysis in the obsessive sense, but steady, neutral awareness. To observe one's thoughts throughout the day. To notice emotional shifts without justification. To see patterns forming in real time. This kind of awareness creates distance between stimulus and reaction. And in that distance, freedom emerges. The second foundation is stability. Because awareness without stability can become fragmentation. To cultivate stability means to train thought not to spiral uncontrollably. To train emotion not to dominate perception. To train will not to fluctuate with every impulse. Stability is not suppression. It is coherence. A stable mind becomes a clear lens. A stable emotional field becomes a calm ocean. A stable will becomes a reliable instrument. When thought, feeling, and willing move in harmony, the human being becomes internally aligned. From this alignment arises self-mastery. Not domination over others, but sovereignty over oneself. And yet, the tradition does not stop there. It emphasizes three qualities that determine whether consciousness ascends or stagnates: positivity, openness, equanimity. Positivity, in its deeper sense, is not naive optimism. It is the disciplined choice to perceive potential even within limitation. Negativity contracts perception. Positivity expands it. Openness is the willingness to see from multiple angles. To walk a circle around a belief. To question one's own conclusions. To remain receptive without becoming unstable. Equanimity is steadiness within movement. Life shifts. Circumstances fluctuate. Emotions rise and fall. Equanimity is the refusal to be dragged by every current. Together, these three qualities create a field of elevated awareness. But perhaps one of the most powerful practices described within this tradition is surprisingly simple. At the end of each day, one reviews the day in reverse. Not to judge, not to regret, but to observe. To retrace events backward. Conversation by conversation. Moment by moment. In doing so, subtle patterns become visible. Synchronicities. Reactions. Missed opportunities for awareness. The backward review reveals something profound. We are not merely moving through random events. We are moving through a web of meaning, shaped by perception, intention, and unseen currents of influence. This practice gradually refines consciousness. It strengthens memory. It sharpens awareness. It reveals hidden threads connecting experience. And over time, a deeper question emerges. Are we solely acting out of free will? Or are we participating in a larger orchestration? The Rosicrucian answer is nuanced. Free will exists, but it must be awakened. Without awareness, free will becomes habit. With awareness, free will becomes participation. Advanced practices within this path move beyond thought into experience. Rather than merely reading spiritual texts, the practitioner dissolves them inwardly, not memorizing words, but absorbing meaning, allowing insight to become lived experience. Some describe a practice of breathing perception itself. Inhaling the world consciously, exhaling understanding. This is not physical breathing alone. It is perceptual breathing. To receive experience fully, to process it consciously, to return insight deliberately. In this cycle, the boundary between matter and spirit softens. Perception becomes sacred. Action becomes intentional. Existence becomes participatory. Ultimately, the philosophy suggests something deeply demanding. Human beings are not passive inhabitants of matter. They are bridges. Bridges between visible and invisible. Between intention and manifestation. Between consciousness and form. Evolution, in this view, is not automatic. It requires participation. It requires awareness, discipline, refinement, to perceive spirit within matter, to recognize meaning within form, to align intention with action. The alchemy was never about gold. It was about clarity. It was about becoming a stable vessel through which higher awareness could move without distortion. And perhaps the most radical realization of all is this: the world does not need more reaction. It needs more conscious participants. The Rosicrucian path, stripped of secrecy and symbolism, is ultimately a path of responsibility. To refine perception, to stabilize emotion, to strengthen will, to elevate awareness. Not for personal superiority, but for participation in the evolution of consciousness itself. And the invitation remains open. Not dramatic, not loud, quiet, demanding, transformative.